This is Shi Xianbing, accused of butchering his girlfriend and 4 other family members in a case that's been the prelude to a string of mass murders that have rocked China since November. Police say Shi stabbed his girlfriend with a kitchen knife after a violent argument before killing her 4 relatives in Guangxi Autonomous Region on November the 15th. A day after the Guangxi case, Chen Wenfa, a diagnosed schizophrenic, was arrested in connection with the murder of 6 of his family members in Yunnan province. 10 days later, 6 villagers were murdered in Inner Mongolia, and that happened on the same day that a man went on a stabbing spree in the northern city of Harbin, killing 1 and injuring 12. In the first week of December, 3 members of the same family were murdered in Chengde, and a few days after that, 12 members of the same family were murdered in Hunan province. And on November the 23rd, a family of 6 was stabbed to death in a middle-class neighborhood on the outskirts of the Chinese capital. Father of 2, Li Lei, is accused of murdering his family in a pre-planned killing spree. This is the apartment where police say Li Lei butchered 6 members of his family, including his 2 young children, his parents, his wife and his sister. The killings have left this community in shock, and many others in China asking the question, why?
I feel very shocked by what has happened. The whole family was killed, including the kids. It's so cruel and unbelievable.
Every time I pass by this building, I feel scared. Sometimes I don't dare to walk past.
The English-language China Daily newspaper carried a story about the string of mass murders on its front page and suggested a link between the cases. Many of the suspects were mentally ill. But Li Meijin, a criminal psychologist and professor at the Chinese People's Public Security University, says it's not that simple. There are now more people suffering from some form of mental illness in China, but she says societal pressure was a more likely reason these men were driven to kill.
It's true that more people are experiencing psychological problems like anxiety neurosis, depression, or bipolar disorders, but crime has actually gone down in the last couple of years. In the case of Li Lei, for example, he was under a lot of pressure from his family.
Professor Li says an increase in family murders in the run-up to New Year is a common phenomenon in China.
It's near the end of the year and people who have been working in the cities are returning home. Those who haven't earned enough money will be under pressure from their families. These cases happen more at this time of year.
But Xialing Xiang, a professor of psychology at China's Southwest University, says the latest killings aren't all just down to family pressure. Police have said that suspects in 4 of the 7 cases suffer from some form of mental illness. Xia says lives could have been saved if more had been done to treat the would-be killers.
There's no social system to take care of these people. Mentally ill patients get treatment in mental hospitals and then go home when the treatment ends. After that, the only people who look after them are their families. There are some institutions that provide psychological care, but the quality of the treatment can be very poor. Some consultants aren't even qualified.
Li insists that China is not facing an epidemic of mass murders on the scale of the US.
The US has a lot of social problems caused by race, and China has stricter weapon controls than the US.
She says the mass murders of the kind that China has witnessed in the last few weeks are a tragic consequence of the country's unprecedented lurch towards change and are unlikely to be the last.
Family ties are being broken, communities are changing, and people are under a lot of pressure. These problems will continue to exist for quite some time.
Tom Mackenzie, BON.
A shocking story there, Mark. Certainly a very large number of killings taking place, but our criminal psychologist Li Meijin is insisting that the number of violent crimes aren't necessarily increasing in China. It's more that they're being reported better and reported more widely, which is why we're seeing more of it in the day-to-day press.
That's right. The other thing she mentioned was that because of the Olympics last year, and the National Day celebrations here in China, we have seen increased security, and that accounts for the level of crime coming down, whereas previously it had been going up. In the US, the big difference is that crimes of this nature typically involve guns, whereas in China, very strict gun controls. And so many of these cases, the majority, in fact, used knives or sharp implements rather than guns, and that's obviously a big difference from in the US.
Absolutely. Do stay with us. Straight from the Street is coming up next.